I'm here with McArdle, and can I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
First of all, when is your birthday, or what is your age?
Well, I'm like a woman. I hate to tell my age. My birthday is December the 13th, and I was 80 years old.
Okay. What did you do for a living?
The last 50 years I've been in construction, grading business. And before that, for 10 years, I worked for the government in the Soil Conservation Service. And then when I left there, I went into business for myself in 1953. It's been 50 years that I've been.
How did you end up living in Elkhorn?
My great-grandfather homesteaded 2 miles north of Elkhorn, and we just kept coming down generations. And when my parents got married, we lived on some farms in Douglas County. And then in 1933, we moved back to Elkhorn. 70 years ago, we've been here ever since.
Okay. What part of Elkhorn did you live in?
We live mostly in the center part of Elkhorn, right north of the business district, about 3 blocks.
Okay. Describe what the town of Elkhorn looked like as early as you can remember. Like, what did the town look like?
Well, when I was a teenager back in the late 1930s, it had gravel streets down through the main street. All the streets were gravel, and there was no paved streets in about 1935. And then when I was in high school yet, the city paved some of the streets, like Main Street, Pacific Street.
And we're going to be talking about historical Elkhorn.
And I guess back then there was a lot of little businesses down Main Street and out on Pacific Street, which is up by my office there too. And there was 2 barber shops and about 4 saloons and 3 filling stations. And there was even, when I was a kid, there was even a lady by Mrs. McArdle who had a millinery shop. She sold this lady's hats. That's all she sold. And there was a hardware store on Main Street and one hardware store down on Pacific Street. And at that time there was 3 car dealerships in Elkhorn. There was a Chevrolet dealer where Elkhorn Oil is now, and across the street was a Ford dealership run by John Diestel. And on the south side of the tracks, down by Frank's Conical there was a Chrysler dealership run by a fellow by the name of Jack Bowie.
A lot of car dealerships.
There was 3 car dealerships, and like I say, there was 4 filling stations. One of them was on the west end of Center Street, on the west end of town. And let's see what else I can think of. At one time there was 4 grocery stores. See, everybody, it was an agricultural community around here, and everybody came to Elkhorn to do their shopping, especially on Saturday night, because the stores stayed open till 11 o'clock on Saturday night to sell groceries. Let me see what else I can think of. Can you think of some other questions? I can think of it right offhand.
Okay. Well, I just want you to tell me any stories that you can remember from like your childhood or how long you've lived here. Anything from the railroad experiences to Kiner Saloon or the first banks or like local celebrations. I just want you to tell me anything.
Okay.
Any stories.
Say, we moved back to Elkhorn in 1933, which is 70 years ago, and we've been here ever since. But I can remember when I was a boy, there was stockyards down the railroad tracks, and the people would drive their cattle in on the hoof with the horses and take them to the stockyards. And then the railroad would come and pick them up and take them to Omaha or wherever they were, or Chicago, wherever they were going. And over there across the street from my office now, that was all coal bins. The railroad would come by and they unloaded all the coal in those coal bins so that the hauling lumber company would pick up the coal and deliver it to the farmers then, because there was no natural gas or propane gas, and everybody heated their houses with coal. So when I was a kid, where complete concrete is now, that was Blackburn Milling Company. They made flour there. They shipped all over. And in the late 30s, when I had a newspaper route, I carried the Omaha Bee News, which there is no Omaha Bee News anymore. And I think I knew everybody in town at that time, because I think the sign out on the highway said Elkhorn 270 people, I believe. And down there, I don't know where my new shop is, right on Railroad Avenue there. When I was a kid, that was a great big wooden building. It was a blacksmith shop. And this old fella that run the blacksmith shop, I delivered the newspaper to him every afternoon. And he liked beer. So he had a tin pail, and he'd make me go over the hill to where the old Circle B bar was. A fellow by the name of Reagan run it then. And I'd have to get him a can of beer and take it back before he would pay me for the newspaper. Maybe someone else I can think of. We're on Candy Cameron.
Do you know anything about the Kiner Saloon?
Not much. When I was growing up, the Kiner Saloon was closed already, because I think it closed in the 1920s during Prohibition, and it never opened after that. So all I can remember mostly about the Kiner Saloon, that Hauling Lumber Company owned the building, and they stored a lot of their finer lumber in there, finishing and so forth. And then the Hollings, when I was growing up, they lived in the east side of the Kiner Saloon where my old office was. I can't think of anything else, but I'll probably answer more questions.
Do you know anything about the Old Lincoln Highway, about how people use it as transportation, or is that what it's like?
Yes. See, the old Lincoln Highway came through Elkhorn. That was the main highway going west to Fremont and Columbus. And in 1935, when I was just a teenager, they built Dodge Street. Dodge Street never used to be out here. See, you had to come out by Atkins Trader Court. You came down into Elkhorn on the old brick highway. That was the main road. And then in 1935, they started building Dodge Street, and then the people didn't come through Elkhorn anymore. They took Dodge Street to Fremont. And that was the reason that before that we had 5 filling stations in Elkhorn, and then a couple of them just went out of business because it wasn't near the traffic that came through Elkhorn. But it used to be, before 1935, all the farmers out west, when they took their livestock to Omaha, they had to come through Elkhorn with their cattle trucks.
So what other sports were there?
They had
I'm trying
track
to think of anything else that I can.
and baseball.
In 1930, the school used to be down in the park where Elkhorn, the city of Elkhorn has their maintenance shop, now that used to be the school. But I never went to school there because when I came here, they'd already built the new school, which is now the administration building. And when I was in school, we had all 12 grades in the administration building. There was the first and second, the third and fourth, fifth and sixth, seventh and eighth, and then the high school upstairs. And of course, in my graduating class in 1940, we only had 16 graduates.
Oh my gosh.
So we didn't need the room that you need now.
Oh my goodness. Not very many compared to now. Okay, I just want to ask you about the growth of Elkhorn from, was it 1933?
Mm-hmm.
From 1933 till now, and how do you feel about the growth? Do you think it's good, or do you not like the growth because you like it being a smaller town? Or?
I used to like it as a smaller town, but as more modern things became available, like newer cars and I used to float airplanes, and you see, when I remember when my mother tells me she lived on a farm 2 miles north of Elkhorn, and when she wanted to go to Omaha to shop, when she was a young girl, they would catch the train in Elkhorn. There was a depot down there, and they'd catch the train there, go to Omaha, come back in the afternoon. The train always stopped in Elkhorn. But, of course, as time got different, why they get buzz on through anymore. You know. At that time, there'd probably be a dozen cars in the train, and now, like say, some of the coal cars, you know, have 110 cars on them. You have to wait quite a while for them to the track. But, I forgot about that. And when I was growing up, all the mail came into Elkhorn by train. And if it was a fast mail train, all they'd do is open the door and kick the mail back out. And then there was a fellow that was hired to pick the mail up and take it to the post office. And when they wanted to ship mail out, they had these big canvas bags, and right west of the Elkhorn crossing, there was a pole, and they'd string that bag up on a pole, and when the train would come through, it had a hook on it, and it would hook that mail right off the pole, and kick it right back in the car, and away they'd go. See, some of those mail trains came through there 50, 60 miles an hour because they had to get the mail out to the bigger towns, and that was one way that they didn't have to stop in Elkhorn. I had a buddy in my class. His dad worked for the railroad, and there were some railroad houses right west of Elkhorn next to the railroad. There were about 3 or 4 railroad houses where railroad people lived in. And in about 1938, he got transferred from Elkhorn to Millard Crossing up there by Western Electric, south of Millard, north of Millard. And he was a fellow that lost his leg, and his dad lost his leg in a railroad accident, so they made him a crossing watchman, and that's all he could do. But anyway, they lived in a railroad house there right north of Millard, and I'd go down and stay with him sometimes. And then the UP had what they call a trolley train. It just had one car with an engine, and being his dad worked for the railroad, they'd get a free ride from Millard to Elkhorn to come to school. So I got a ride on that train sometimes if I'd stay with him. Trying to think of anything else I can tell you. Any other questions?
Well, what about local celebrations like 4th of July parades, or were there any type of dances or community celebrations that you had?
They had some parades, and I don't remember too much about it, but I'll tell you, when I was real young, they had a bandstand and a dance floor down in the old park where the Elkhorn City Maintenance Garage is now. They had a dance floor there, and I can remember listening to bands that came to Elkhorn. At one time, even Lawrence Welk came to Elkhorn and played in his band down there.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I never knew that.
And then later on, when they did away with the bandstand, they still had that concrete dance floor there that made tennis courts out, and they played tennis down there. But that's all gone now too.
Out of Denver, and building up going on. That's the last.
Okay.
Okay, you know,
Well, I was just gonna say again about the growth of Elkhorn, how like they're adding more schools and more people are coming into Elkhorn and more people want their kids to go to Elkhorn schools. How do you feel about that? Like,
well, I hate to see it when my boys were in high school. We were a Class C school, and we were probably one of the top Class C schools in the state. But I guess that's just progress, because I served on the Elkhorn School Board for 28 years. And when I went on the board in 1965, we had approximately 600 kids in school entering. And when I left 30 years later, I think there was 2,600 kids in school. So,
Whatever you want. Then I went to work there.
anything else, I guess I just followed the activities in the school ever since I started there. So I'm still interested. I went to a basketball game last night.
oh yeah.
Were you there?
No, but I heard about it.
You did? It's fun to watch the kids' activities, because I kind of been associated with them for years and years. I started playing basketball in 1936, and I just kept going, following everything.
That's cool. What about city government? Do you remember anything how the government has changed from back when a long time ago until now? Was it? Did you have like?
Well, I can remember when I was a kid, they had a town council, they called it, and they had a mayor. Of course, they used to meet in the old city hall, which is right next to PC Support now. We have above PC Support, that old red brick building. That was the city hall. And I remember that. And some of the mayors were Julia Schultz and Harry Manton, Henry Frost, and Art Gott.
Oh yeah.
And the stores. And when I became eligible to vote, they needed people to serve on what they call the election board. And at that time, I was on the county board then, and Dean Sager and I can't remember who else. We counted all the ballots by hand, and now they run them through the computer and everything. We counted everything by hand. And usually, when there was a presidential election, we'd be there at 3 o'clock in the morning counting the ballots. And that was just for Elkhorn, which wasn't too big. You counted everything by hand.
Okay, I just want to ask you, do you have one story you'd like to share with us, or just a story that you'd like to tell? Anything?
If I have any funny stories or not. I guess one of the stories would be the big fire we had in Elkhorn. There used to be a big ballroom downtown called Danker's Ballroom. It was upstairs above which is now can't think of the name of the business that's in there, but it covered the whole building there. They tore the half down after the fire. That was one of the big things was that fire. I can't remember which year, but they destroyed the ballroom, they destroyed the south half of the building. All that's left is just the north half. There's a little parking lot there between the building and what is Circle B.
Well, I think that's all I have for you today. Do you want to say anything else?
I just think it's an honor to be asked to come here and visit with you.
Oh, and thank you for supporting us, for doing this and sponsoring us.
Well, that was my pleasure. That's the reason I picked that thing out to support, because I was interested in that too, just like you are.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.